Okay, then we're back. Welcome back from lunch. I hope you're all well fed and happy. And welcome to any newcomers. I hope you're all feeling good as we're now heading into the last part of GACO 2022. Are you ready? Yeah. Good. Yeah, we are so lucky to have Soundly as one of our co-presenters for this conference. Soundly is a complete platform for sound effects, and now Christian Skåning and Joachim Jordal will be presenting the platform and some new upcoming features. So I'll first leave the stage to them. Please give them a warm applause.
Sound? Oh, that's unfortunate. It did work earlier. I can try to dub it, but wouldn't be the same. The audio should go there. Oh, I see. There we go. Perfect. Let's hope it doesn't connect to the HDMI output. Okay. Let's try.
What do you think? Okay, hold on.
Thank you. My name is Christian. This is Joachim. We're from Soundly. We started Soundly 6 years ago. We were going around to different studios with our big hard drives. And we wondered how is it possible to make this journey to these different studios easier. So we made software that could connect to the cloud. I come from a sound design background with a lot of films, so I had some sounds I had collected through the years. We organized this, and we started off with 3,000 sounds in the library. And we could take Soundly with us to every studio we were and access our sounds from the cloud. Soundly is a software for Mac and Windows. You download the application and you make a user, and then you access our online library. it's not 3,000 sounds anymore. It's actually close to 100,000 sounds. We have several sound designers working full-time, collecting sounds, making sounds. We're taking requests from our users. So we try to make the complete general library as possible. And it's very easy to use. And I'm going to show Soundly in action very quickly. So here you have a search field. I search for a car pass. And all these sounds are online now, so there's no hard drive in this library. So there I can choose a Tesla, for example. I can play this sound. Let's pick it. You have a pitch bar. You can make it. And you have simple tools like reverse. You can swap the stereo if you want the sound to go from right to left instead of left to right. And you can convert it to mono and a lot of other small stuff. And then, if you want to drag this into your DAW, which I have here, which is a Pro Tools DAW, I can just mark this section of the sound and drag and drop it there, and here you go. Well, with the internal speakers, so I could hear it. Anyways, that's basically what Soundly is. Inside Soundly, you have different, or we have like this core library with close to 100,000 sounds, but you also have free add-on libraries. You can connect directly to Freesound and other free libraries. And if you don't find what you need there, you can even go to the paid one, where we have a collaboration with soundeffects.com, where you can buy sound effect libraries directly in the application. Those libraries will also be available in the cloud, so you don't need to download it and so on. You can just open it on every system and drag and drop to every program that supports drag and drop. That's basically my introduction. And Joachim here, did I forget something? No. Joachim here will tell you a little bit more of the game the way you use it for games and what we have in plans for Soundly. And I'm gonna show one more movie from what we're doing before Joachim speaks. Do we have sound on the computer now? Yes.
We attended this conference last year, And as we all come from a linear background with movies and commercials, we didn't really know how Soundly was being utilized by the game audio community. So after attending this event last year, we got a lot of new ideas for Soundly and how to make it more effective for your workflow. One of the new major features in the right direction for you guys is that we have integration with Wise. So I'll just show you that quickly. So here you can see the different DAWs that we currently have integration with. So I'll choose Wise, and let's just use this same sound here. And now I can either click here with the mouse or just use the hotkey S. And then I will get this window right here. And here I can choose different containers. So let's do the random container. Let's call it car pass and car pass. I don't really know what you guys would name this because I don't work with Wise. So I just know it really briefly. And then I press OK. And here we have it inside of Sound, now inside of Wise. And this is a first version of the integration. And with feedback from the community, we kind of know what steps to take next. So we are planning on batch importing and being able to import it into multiple containers at a single time, etc. So, but all of these these features that are directed towards the game audio is just purely based on feedback from the community, because we don't really have the knowledge. And since this conference is the main theme is the future, I will show you a couple of new features that we are excited about that will come pretty soon. And Oliver actually touched in on one of the new features, and that's the speech engine. So I'll let the speech engine do the talking. So here you see, I just pressed speak it, and now we get it down here. Right.
Force me to say.
Oh, from the beginning.
Hello, Game Audio Conference in Oslo. My name is Christopher, and I'm delighted to be here. At least that's what Joachim forced me to say. I'm one of many stuck inside the Soundly speech engine, destined for an eternity of reading your texts and saying them out loud.
All right, and let's continue.
People from all over the world have been imprisoned in the Soundly speech engine. Some of us are terrible at English pronunciation, men norsken min kjempebra.
Right, so Finn here, he's Norwegian, so his English is pretty bad. And as you can see, this is a list of different languages and characters. And inside one, some of them have more voices than others. So English, for example, has a pretty long list, while others are maybe one male and one female voice.
Some of us have a deep range of emotions, so you'll no longer need to hire voice actors for your projects. I'm so happy. And now I'm sad.
All right, I think we maybe have a little more progress to go before we're there. But so what can this actually be used for? Oliver touched in on it.
Use us for NPCs as placeholders, voiceovers, PA speakers, or your next drum loop. Bomb cha, bomb 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 cha, bomb cha, bomb 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 cha. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I don't really know if we will hear a lot of these speech engine beatbox drum loops, but it's fun at least, and use it creatively. So to take it even one step further, we'll take the questions after, okay? I will combine this with another feature that is coming, which is you will hear it. So here, show plugins.
This is the final boarding call for passenger Christian Shining, booked on flight 372A to Los Angeles. Please proceed to gate 3 immediately. I repeat, this is the final boarding call for Christian Shining. Thank you.
You're missing your plane, Christian.
I have to leave.
Yeah. So we're getting VSTs inside of Soundly. And you can set up plugin chains. Let's, if we want to make it a bit more dirty, I can insert a tube amp. I can put it over here. Let's increase the drive, not blow your ears out.
This is the final boarding call for passenger Christian Shining, booked on flight 372.
And you can also save these chains as presets. So, airport, it's called, yeah, airport PA. Save. All right, so that's a couple of features that are coming, and there is a lot more, and we're down at the booth there, so if you want to talk with us, you can come and talk with us there. And we need feedback from you guys to help you with your daily work life. What can we do to improve your workflow? Give us the feedback. We review everything, and we implement a lot of it. Okay, thank you. And we have one more video before we leave. Yeah.
How can we get rid of the VST?
Er den quick den?
Ja, den der, ja. All right, and fold. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very cool. So you can find Christian and Joachim over at the booth there. Great. Okay. We reached the point of the last speaker of the conference before it's time for the GACO Awards. And our last speaker has a special story, because her first audience was a flock of goats that she was calling down from the mountains in northern Norway, using traditional herding calls. Later, she paid her education by literally tearing down concrete walls in Tromsø as her summer job. 16 years after that, she was living in Hollywood, singing and writing scores for movies and League of Legends. I met her the first time in June on a Music Norway conference and thought, why the heck haven't we heard of this woman before? How many female composers writing scores for movies and games do we have in Norway? How many composers do we have writing for League of Legends? Christine never stopped tearing down walls as she made her way from calling down goats to calling down snow in Disney's Frozen, and from film to game scoring. Today, she'll talk about how she found her niche, and that finding your niche can be crucial to stand out in a very competitive environment. So please give Christine Hals a very warm welcome.
Hello.
Is the mic on? Yes, it is. And now I just need to plug in my technology and hope it works. And power is good. It's an old computer. I hope I'm not showing my butt to anyone. Sorry. So yeah, goats. I hope you will not only remember me as the goat woman, but I used to be ashamed of that, actually, when I was a kid. And what I want to talk about today is actually just really find who you are and be proud of it and make it you. Because why would you be someone else when you're creating art? I think the most important thing is to be genuine. And so I'm going to talk about, well, how I found my way into Hollywood. And it started with film scoring. Well, actually, it started with the goats. But then I went from, see if it's working. Yeah, it's going to be a presentation here. Do I push something or do you push something? Oh, yeah, I forgot something. I was, this is like kind of a blonde moment. And hopefully that's not going to be the impression you have of me. But anyway, make an impression, that's important. Let's see. That kind of messed up things for me here a little bit. There we go. Yeah. And yeah, this is me. I love snow and ice, as you will see. So let me just play this little introduction video. And let's see if it works. Oh, well. What would life be without technological challenges? So this is going from internet, which could be a challenge, I realize. So I backed it up by making this. Because that's the rule. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. I don't know if you've heard that before. And there we go. Let's see if this works. From League of Legends, that's Warren, Kyle, yeah, my last film that I scored, and Udir. So yeah, and I'm gonna go back to my, yeah, thank you. And now I'm done. That was a short version, and let's see if I can get back to this fun thing that is running off the internet. Oh, now it's working, so yeah, it's not fun. So yeah. I grew up with my goats, and they were my first audience, and I would call them down from the mountains using this very special singing technique that I will not show. I'll have a video. It's very loud. So the goats would come down, and I would feed them, and I would tie them up. And that's where the fun began. I started singing, and I was singing along to all kinds of music, and of course they couldn't run away because I tied them up. And well, it was a good thing. And then I was actually going to be a veterinarian, but I thought I'd just study singing for a year, so I moved to Stockholm. And after studying art, I went to Stockholm, and I lived there for I studied for 8 years, and I lived there for 10. And yeah, I got a bachelor in music media production, master in film music composition from the Royal College of Music. And I got a graduate certificate from USC in LA, so a lot of film music and music production. And so this is where it all started. Well, after the goats, I have always loved snow, and so that's the other part of me. And in 2007, I was studying music and media technology, and I was supposed to conduct. And I did not know how to read, so I kind of had a problem. Because when you don't know what those ants on the paper are doing, it's kind of the part you need to know when you're supposed to conduct. So we had this teacher, and everyone warned me, oh, he's terrible, he's gonna make you cry. And I thought, no, I'm gonna show him I really want to learn. So I asked him, what do I do? I want to learn to conduct. Well, you need to learn to read. So you should join my choir, and that's what I did. And that's the first time I saw an orchestra live, and I fell completely in love. And here they are, St. Matthews choir and orchestra in Stockholm. And well, 3 months in, I got the confidence to actually ask if I could borrow the orchestra. And I think the conductor got a little shocked. I don't think people are crazy enough to ask that. But he said yes. Maybe it was a shock, did it? But I realized that I really had some expectations to live up to. So I got a tutor to help me with orchestration, because I'd never done that, obviously. And about 8 months later, I'd written my first orchestral piece called Snow. And here I am performing it with choir and children's choir and the orchestra. And it did pretty well. I think we performed it 8 times. And it got me into the Royal College of Music's master program in film scoring, which I really recommend. It's a collaboration with the Dramatical Institute in Stockholm and the Royal College of Music. And I think they have 4 students every second year that collaborate with the directors and the other film students. So it's a really good education. And I got a grant also when I applied for USC. And it's in LA, University of Southern California. And so that's another education that I really, really recommend. You also learn to score for games, and they're getting more and more into that, as well as film scoring. And as it says, LA Film, among the best musicians in the world, we actually got to record every weekend. So we orchestrated and wrote music for them and conducted them. And I mean, it looks pretty cool with me conducting. I'm not a good conductor, but it's a really good experience. If you write music, it's really helpful to know how the musicians respond to your music. And when you conduct, it's a good thing to do, even if you are not good at it. And so and my professors said, well, you should really focus on only scoring music, like writing music, as opposed to only singing or doing both, because you need to be focused and an expert instead of spreading out too much. But I think that the best thing I did was to also sing, because that's kind of my signum. That's where my voice is, literally, but also it's something that makes me stand out. Firstly, I'm a woman, and then also I don't know that many composers that sing. And I would sing on my compositions, and I would also sing in ancient Norse, which is the extinct Viking language. And every time we were recording in the weekends, there would of course also be a music contractor, and he was also happened to be the one who contracted for John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Christoph Beck, the composer of Frozen, and so forth. And I was recommended, and I was asked if I could help them find Norwegian musicians for this film called Frozen. And I thought, well, I'll do my best. And I found all kinds of instruments, hardanger fiddle among them, and lots of other instruments. And I said, and by the way, I know this specific technique called kulning. It's herding call that you use to call goats or cows with. And they're like, sure, let's try. And turns out they like that. And that's how I ended up calling the snow in Frozen. And I got a niche. And I also, well, they asked if I knew how to write Norse, which I said is an extinct language. But I said, yes, of course, because that's one of the things I learned at USC, that the answer is always yes. and then you go home and figure out how to do it. But I don't think they meant pretend that you know a language that's been extinct for like 1,200 years or so. But, you know, at least I got to try. And I went home, I Googled it, I found lots of web pages, I bought like heavy books, and somehow I managed to do it. And I asked a Norwegian Norse expert, Arne Torp, if he could look at it, and he only found 2 mistakes. So, yeah, my lyrics made it into Frozen. Let's see if, yeah, I have the video for it, but yeah, this is me at Disney, posing. And yeah, who would have thought my herding calls would make it into a Disney film? So I felt pretty lucky, and you know, sometimes, yeah, oh, there's the goat. Woo. I bet there's some out there watching. Yeah, and again, back to my sound, because this herding call, and again, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but it's very high pitched and it's like kind of cutting through. So people thought it was like a Polish flute, pan flute, a-cooling. They call it icy cold. Like there's all kinds of sounds like a piccolo. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Even a ram's horn or something. So it's fun. And so, yeah, I think Disney liked that sound a lot. And oh, here we go. This is at the National Teatret. They have this really nice dome. And as it says, this was after the Frozen 2 premiere. Have anyone seen Frozen or Frozen 2 in here? Yay! It's a big film, big films. And so, yes, this is a singing technique that I used. And, well, I mean, this is what I was gonna say, but you can also read it. But it's like, it's safe to say that I might be the only goat caller in the world who inspired a Disney plot, because I was, after all, the one introducing cooling to Disney in 2013. And as you know, or might know, Aurora sang the parts in Frozen 2, and I was asked if I wanted to be her mother, or Queen Elsa's mother, and the older Iduna, Queen Iduna. So that was quite fun. And I sang about a magical river. This is me in 2016 in a magical river in northern Norway. It's filmed by Ole Salomonsen. We just decided we wanted to capture the Northern Lights, and I had this melody in my mind that I thought, this sounds like the Northern Lights. And if you look closely, you might see that it's a little bit out of sync. So he's filming me, and then I wrote orchestral music afterwards. And so we were just improvising, so that's also why it's not super quality of the filming. But yeah, so that's also, it's just me. I love the snow. My fingers froze and I couldn't feel them for a month or so after. But it was worth it, right? Like standing in that river, and I'm not doing it again because my God, that was really cold. Don't joke around with frostbite. So yeah, I had established a sound, definitely. And yeah, here you can hear my lyrics in ancient Norse. Unfortunately, the captions didn't come on the video, but it's about Queen Elsa and how she has a heart of gold, and with hope and faith, everything will be okay. And Fagra Grytterland, like beautiful, rugged land, is the lyrics, because kind of a little inspired by the national anthem.
yeah, and this is also in ancient Norse, but I didn't write that. Yeah, and so League of Legends, that was, I guess, directly inspired by it happened because I worked on Frozen, because first of all, they knew that I had this Nordic sound, and they also knew that I happened to know, or I knew how to pronounce ancient Norse and had some Norse skills. And so Freljordian, if you have played, have anyone here played League of Legends? Yeah? I love that game. I have to admit that I haven't played it, but I just love the visuals, and I love that there's so many different worlds. They have Freljord, which is, of course, my favorite world. That's the winter world, where you have all these wintry Nordic creatures, champions living. And so that's where I fit in, with my wintry background. And so my first job was singing for Orn. So I was singing in ancient Freljordian, which is a made-up language inspired by Norse, I think Dutch, Norwegian, Danish, Faroese. And yeah, and I was the lucky person who got to pronounce them and yeah, sing it. And I had a lot of fun. And this is the composer, Kyle Cole Hicks. And he also wrote music for Nuno and Willem, a boy and his Yeti. And that was also super fun. Let me see if, yeah, here I am at the Eastwood scoring stage in Warner Bros. In Los Angeles. And this is the crew for Nuno and Willem, and this is another scoring stage called The Bridge. And what I really love about, well, all of League of Legends Worlds is that they try so many sounds and they want to have unique sounds. I think that's a viola da gamba, and they've also used lots of other fun instruments. And I always fantasize, how will it be to write for this game? I never thought that I would, because they have a whole bunch of composers hired already that do the music. So, and also they only knew me as a singer, or that's what I thought. So, oh, here I am with Tibber. I love that guy. I have him in my bed, a small version. Yes, but dreams do come true. In May, I got a magical request, an email that almost made me fall out of bed because I stupidly open emails in the morning. And I got an email from Riot Games, and I thought, yay, I got a new singing job. And there I saw, no, there's something else in here. And they asked me, do you want to write music for League of Legends? I could hardly believe it, but it was true. And so they asked if I wanted to write music and in collaboration with another composer. And they didn't give me much information in the beginning, but it turns out it was an Irish guy called Colm McInnes, who happens to be a really amazing singer as well. So he has a really, really low voice. I think he goes down to the low A, which is insane. And I sing really high, and so we kind of tried to make our unique sound, and also we were both composers. Let's see. Oh yeah, and synchronicity, I don't know if you know what that means, but it's when coincidences that are kind of magical, things come together. And I had been to this workshop called Kontordagen, which is where you learn to be a business person while also a creative. And so I met that blonde guy and his friends, a bunch of folk musicians that played all these instruments. So that guy, he plays key harp, mono harp, hurdy-gurdy, perfect. And then a few weeks later, I met two people that played a hardanger fiddle, and also the other guys played billy buckhorn, charango, which is not at all Norwegian. It's Latin American, and then cello flute, very Norwegian, and Bulgarian kaval and voyanka. So because we wanted to create a special sound, and also should have mentioned that we used some instruments from Asia, Eastern Asia, because the character Udir, he did a spiritual journey, so he's traveling between Ionia, and that's where he went to get inspiration and to go back to Freljord. So we kind of had to make that come together. So with the Nordic part, but also having the Eastern kind of spiritual tradition. So you might hear that in it, and I thought that I could play it for you. Oh, here they are, by the way. This is Sarah Blandy, and this is Cole Hicks, and this is Calm. And so we started working in June, and our deadline was 8th of August. We recorded the musicians middle of July. And I'm gonna see if this video works, it would be great. Otherwise, I do have it on my computer, and I think that's what okay, I'm gonna put it on the computer, it's safer. So yeah, you'll see most of the instruments, but Colm didn't have time to send because I asked him last minute to send his parts, but he's playing Irish flute and some of the Eastern Asian instruments. So yeah, let's listen. There's the charango, the Dungar fiddle. There's the key harp. That's the Mora harp, and that's the hurdy-gurdy. And a billy buckhorn. I love that sound. And the cello flute. I don't know if it's possible to turn up the music a little bit. Yeah! Yeah, that was my... Thank you. Yeah, I love those musicians, and I warmly recommend them. So if you want to create something very Nordic, just contact me and I'll put you in contact with them. I don't know, do I have much time left, or... Yeah? Okay, cool. Because, well, there's so many things that I want to talk about. I've kind of been speeding a little bit, but which is fun. So yeah, again, like these instruments, I'd never written for them before. So how do you do that? Well, like how I did it, I wrote, like we started with just creating parts from each from our sites. Like he was in Ireland and I was in Norway, in Holmestrand. Let me see if I can get this up just to have something to look at. Oh, one more time, right? Oh, so yeah. So this is the team, and we were talking every week about how to progress. And so first we needed to get some sort of form, like how long is it gonna be? When do we have, like we were working with a golden ratio, where should it like have its climax, and like establishing the chords, and also having all these different instruments that were like the different characters, because he has Volibear and he has, I can't remember all of them, but like he has 4 different characters. And yeah, we needed to find, like Volibear, he needed the big drums. And so that we have that in like the really characteristic or like big part of the, sorry, I'm gonna have that there. And then, yeah, so having the Nordic part was the most important, of course, because he is from Freljord. And then the Eastern Asian kind of instruments or scales, you don't hear it that much, but it's there. And so we wanted to have like hints of the different instruments, and just to show that he was doing this spiritual journey. And yeah, I don't know, do you have any questions? Because I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself. Yeah, any questions about how we did it, or the instruments, or my process, or? So quiet. Yeah.
How do you feel the dynamic was in working with a different composer and to a brief made by someone else? Did you feel that limited your creative progress in any way, shape, or form?
Cool, I love the question, because that's definitely something I should talk about. It is a little intimidating and a little scary. First of all, it's one of the biggest companies in the world contact you and say, hey, do you want to write music for us? And you're like, shit, what happened? And you have so much to live up to, and you don't want to mess that up. But first of all, Kyle, who was the one who recommended me, the composer that I had worked with, is a super sweet person. So I felt also he knew that I'm a composer, so I thought, well, he must have done his best judgment in picking me. And once I got to know who the other composer was, we had a meeting, and he seemed really sweet. And I thought, well, I'll just do my part and do my best, and hopefully it's going to be good. And I don't know, I think that at a certain point in time, you kind of start to land a little bit in who you are, and being confident in that you actually have something to give. But that really is affected by the people you work with, because in a toxic environment, or if people kind of push you, then that's super difficult. But I felt really lucky because Calm was super sweet, and it was a really 50-50 collaboration where we went back and forth and sent stuff back and forth to each other. And maybe he was good at one thing and I was good at another, and then it came together. Like, I don't think I could have written this well alone, to be honest, because there's something in the dynamic when you work together. But of course, it could get worse if the other person, like it needs to be, I think that what we did really well was being very humble to each other and like, yeah, let's try that and let's try that. And so that, because the product or the end result is really what's important, not our egos, like showing off. It's more, where do we blend together perfectly or at the best. And then, of course, being supervised by such like professional people like Sarah and Cole, like it's very, like it felt so good and calm, like made me feel really calm that we're gonna do this. It made me a little bit nervous towards the end because I'd never worked with these instruments before, and I'd never, of course, never written for them, so I didn't know how to notate all of it. And they were also different kinds of keys, the flutes and the horn. So we had to kind of, yeah, like cheat a little bit by tuning them and like recording in different keys and then melodyning it back to the right key. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges when you work with rare or different instruments that are not non-orchestral. So yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, hi. So you now composed music for both movies and games. What's the difference when you're faced with both, when you're composing for film and when you're composing for games?
Yes, and so this is where I'm starting to I'm starting to get into the game industry, and I have honestly not really tried the interactive part, except from back in school, in college in Stockholm, we actually had to program and make our own games. And so that's where we learned a little bit about how they need to be triggered by something happening, and then now the music goes faster. But that was ages ago, and I'm feeling really grateful for all of you, if there's anyone in here who has been part of, or at least helping that part of the industry grow, like by having engines that makes things easier for us composers, because we have a lot by just writing music that works and has the right mood. And then also having to be super technical to get it to fit into the game. So I'm afraid that I can't really talk too much, at least not about the technical aspect, but I think that what both worlds have is that you have to find an emotion, and you need to know when to go big and when to go small. And what kind of tempo, what's the right tempo, what's the kind of right instrument, what's the vibe, and also communicating with directors. And I don't know what they call that in the gaming industry, maybe audio supervisors, I don't know, honestly. So that's how new I am, really in game. Yeah, so that's what I could answer to that. Are there other questions? Yeah?
So when you write a piece of music and when you do a composition for whether it be movies or games, you mentioned you'd never worked with this type of instrument before and you didn't necessarily know the limitations of the instruments and how to write for them. How do you then plan for those instruments from the get-go? How do you make a piece move forward?
So, of course, I tried to read a little bit about them to not write outside of the register, but what's difficult is really knowing how, for instance, a key harp can't really slide like a violin, and also the Hardanger fiddle can't really slide in the same way as a violin either. But you just write it, and then you hope that the musicians are going to be good enough to do what you ask them. But of course, research is super important, and I spent a lot of time trying to find the perfect key, which this I thought was A minor. And then when I spoke to the Hardanger fiddle, because they were kind of the key center, that they were the ones that I wanted to kind of carry the melody and everything. Turns out that I needed to kind of, well, I think I'm happy with the key, and I think the other, Colman and Kyle and Sarah also liked the key, because it does something, we tried different keys and it just didn't feel right. And so that's maybe, I think that was the biggest challenge, finding the right key for the Hardanger fiddle, because it's just so different. But in the end, I'm really happy that we ended up with A minor for this piece. And it's a little modal, it goes between different keys. Yeah. Other questions? Anything?
No more questions?
Yeah.
You started talking a little bit about, you started with Volibear for a second.
Yeah.
The other characters it sounded like you were about to go into. Did you start defining them by a singular instrument at some point in your mind? Or do you have one instrument that defined them for you?
Yeah, so this is what's good about League of Legends universe, is that they have kind of a sound for each of the worlds, and I have to say that I need to kind of unplug this so you don't see all the mess on my computer, but I'm gonna see if I can find my notes on it, because there were different characters, and Volibear was one of them, and in all my nervousness, I kind of, yes. So Cryophoenix, that's the icy part. Ooh. So that's where you see the Hardanger fiddles doing like this flasholets, like the harmonics. And so they're like creating the icy sound texture. And then we had Volibear, like with big drums that sounds like thunder. And the Iron Boar, they said just kind of interpret a little bit how we wanted. I don't remember exactly what we did with him. And then Anivia, I'm not also sure where that's, like what we kind of decided to do with that. But at least, like he has these 4 different characters that he has. And then he goes to Ionia to try and find himself, because he's like, I thought it was really cool. I saw some of the comments that some of the fans or the players had said that he's like martial arts shaman with martial arts skills. I think that's really cool. So yeah, and I have to say again, like it's difficult to really go all Eastern Asian instruments. I think there was a speech about that yesterday too, like going into different cultures, but we wanted just hints of it, trying to find because again, we wanted to create our own sound, our own little world, and make people feel like, oh, there's something Eastern in here. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay, more questions.
Hi.
Hi.
So you were briefly talking about like finding your voice and stuff. So as a composer pretty new to the industry and stuff, it can be pretty hard to know like where to put your eggs. Should you like put all eggs in one basket and double down on like what you're good at? Or is it better to like spread out and be a little good at everything, you know? Do you have any like tips on that front? Like what is a clever way to move forth?
I think like I think both in a way, because we do have to be very skilled at everything from being technical to how to I mean, you don't have to know how to write music, but I think it's very helpful if you want to write for an orchestra or and I recommend anyone who wants to try. It's not that hard. You just have to start somewhere. It's hard in the beginning, but you learn and you grow and you develop. And I think, yes, you should definitely find if you have a special instrument that you're good at, why not try and be better? And so that you have something that's unique for your sound, and try to, like, I don't know if there's special things, like if you like nature, like that's what I do. So I kind of find my inspiration there and try to see where do you find, like, why do you do music? What kind of sound do you want to create? And I think that should be like kind of your center, and then you have to learn different things around so that you can make that center stronger. I think that that's the best way, because if you try too much to be everything, like if, for instance, someone asked me if I could score a jazz movie, I might say yes, but I would hire a bunch of people to help me, because I seriously suck at writing jazz. I wouldn't do a good job there. And I might tell them, maybe you should hire someone else. So it's also about being honest with what you are not good at, or actually feel that you can do a good job doing, because you need to feel inspired to do the music. But if you feel attracted to it, like you feel warm in your heart, like, wow, I really want to do that, but I don't know how. But then you just figure out how. And because you love it and you really want to do it, you'll naturally be better at it, I think, as opposed to trying to be something that you're not. So what I can say is just follow your heart, follow your intuition, and that's where your voice is, that's where your genuine self is, and that's what you actually have to offer to the world of music. Or yeah, that's what you should do.
Great advice, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. I think we have to move forward, because the next coming up is the GACO Awards. But I just wanted to say it's truly goosebump all over the place, and I definitely also can draw parallels to to the challenges in Louis' talk yesterday. And also hope if anyone here is sitting with this quirky little thing they've been ashamed of, then maybe that's your advantage. Yeah. Thanks so much. It was great. And yeah, one more message. Because we're a little behind schedule, the awards will start at 4. But be back at 10 to 4 because I've been teasing this Chaotica eyeball giveaway, so something might happen.